I'm Essie Mathis.
I'm Ralph Grizel. I was incarcerated at the age of 18, basically, but it was for juvenile crimes, and it was for a non-violent drug offense, and I was subsequently sentenced to 3 concurrent life sentences in federal prison for that. And there was a case that came out in 2010 in which the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional to actually sentence a juvenile to life without parole for a non-homicide offense. Specifically, I spent 21 years, 9 months, and 16 days. It's hard to really describe being told as a child that society no longer wants you. They kind of liken it to being buried alive.
Very well. I remember the first time I visited him in the penitentiary in Atlanta. It was one of the hardest things I had ever done in my whole life. Just even approaching the penitentiary, going through the process of getting checked in, seeing him in that environment, and literally breaking down emotionally and physically when I left there. I knew that my son, as a teenager, was still growing up, still finding his way in the world, still figuring out life. I mean, I had no idea that things would take the turn they did, but I never doubted that ultimately when he grew up to become a man, he was going to be okay in the world. That was never a question mark for me. As a mother, I had no support system. There was nobody in my world to hold my hand and to call me on the phone, to check on me. There was nobody saying to me, it's going to be okay, your son's going to be okay. There was no one that was doing that for me. So it was only my faith in God to say, no, Lord, you're the God of justice. This is not justice. I don't know how this is going to be fixed, but I know he's coming out. And I never stopped saying that. It was a 2-part response for me. On the Monday, my son called me to inform me that he had talked to his attorney that morning and that she was going to be, that they finally got an audience with the government side and that they finally got agreement that he deserved a resentencing hearing, and she was filing the papers that night so they would be on the judge's desk the next morning. So that was on Monday, and I was elated then. And my cell phone was lighting up, and I didn't recognize the number. It was a 407 area code, and I thought, okay, 407. This has got to be Florida. This has got to be Orlando. This has got to be Ralph's lawyer. So I just answered the phone. I just picked it up, and it was Rosemary. She said, we have not been able to get a hold of anybody at the prison. I've been trying to call for hours, and I haven't been able to talk to Ralph. The phone system there is shut down for the day. Nobody's taking messages. And I said, what's going on, Rosemary? She said, well, I can't, he doesn't even know that the judge signed the papers. I said, what papers? Because in my mind, I'm still waiting for the judge to get the papers and set a court date for him to be resentenced. So I said, what papers? She said, well, the judge signed the papers and agreed to what we asked for. I said, okay, so what are you telling me? She said, basically, he's free to go. She said, now, Ralph doesn't know this. If he happens to call you tonight, let him know. I said, call me tonight. I'm typing an email right now. I am very limited in my vocabulary in expressing things this deep. So if I said that I was happy, excited, grateful, elated, ecstatic, and all that, it doesn't even scratch the surface. That morning was more than amazing in many respects. I remember parking the car, and this initial piece was very unexpected. There were staff people arriving for work, and one by one, men and women said to me, ma'am, your son is a fine young man. We are going to miss him, blah, blah, blah. He's this, he's that. And I said, thank you very much. I appreciate those kind words. I said, but yes, you are going to miss him because I'm taking him out here. So this is it. I said, so say your goodbyes on your way in the door.
It was major, you know what I mean? It was fantabulous, as one woman gave the word she gave me one time.
The biggest challenge is really mental and psychological, because I had to quickly remind myself that I have my son back, but he's not who he was exactly. He was a teenager still growing up, but he's an adult now. He amazes me. I mean, when I was back when I was working with one of the attorneys to gather these letters of support on his behalf, when I actually read the letter that he had written to hopefully that he would have an opportunity to address to the judge, I had to reread it, and I said, who wrote this? Now my son was a high school dropout when he went into prison. Hope has to be the guiding light. It has to be. And I pray that when people look at my son's release, the release of other men and women that are now free, that they will realize that there is hope, and that this is a cause worth fighting for. As long as we're living and breathing and have opportunity to fight in all the ways we can, with the pen, with our voices, with our finances, with our talents, our treasures, our time, whatever, that this is one of the most worthwhile investment that we can make in life. That's really my primary thought. I can't think of anything more noble to invest in than really, it's all about redeeming lives, redemption.
Things have been moving real fast for me, and I'm glad of that too. I'm not upset about that, but I know eventually I'm gonna have to, slow down a little bit and smell the roses.